I recently sold my 2006 Toyota Tacoma and purchased this used 2016 Toyota Tacoma. The reason that I sold my previous Tacoma was twofold. The first reason was because I had an access cab on my 2006 and didn't have the adequate space for a car seat, and so decided to upgrade to the double cab in order to adequately fit a car seat. The other reason was because my other Tacoma had about 210,000 miles and was getting to the point where I was a little bit nervous taking it on longer road trips. Not that it was giving me any signs of issues, but just the concern with the higher mileage vehicle. And so I decided to purchase a double cab Tacoma and spent quite a bit of time researching some of the advantages between going with a newer Tacoma or an older one. Ended up deciding that the best course of action was to go with the new body style 2016 Tacoma, that it offered the best value for my investment. And so I wanted to explain in this video how I ended up at that point. I would strongly recommend that if you have the financial means to go with a newer Tacoma, that long term it's going to be a better investment than what you're going to get with an older Tacoma. So in this video I'm going to go over some of the things that I found when researching this for myself. So my 2006 Tacoma had 210,000 miles, and I was able to sell it for $11,600. So that was the thing that really sold me on getting another Tacoma. I think that there are better trucks out there, but it's hard to get that kind of value out of a truck with that many miles on it, and the depreciation on the Tacoma is really hard to beat. And so that really sold me on buying another one. So the depreciation is really important to me on a vehicle. I don't want to lose a lot of money over the time of ownership. I understand that with miles and with age, that's inevitable. And so what I wanted to do was basically maximize my investment so that I lose the least amount of money over time. Now, with most vehicles, you're going to be better off buying a used vehicle to avoid that depreciation. With the Tacoma, it's a little bit different because the depreciation seems to be pretty linear over time. And so what I found is, yes, there is some initial depreciation if you were to buy a brand new Tacoma. In that first year of ownership, you're going to lose a bit. Beyond that, it's going to be pretty linear over time. Now, the one exception to that rule is if you want a fully loaded Tacoma, a lot of options, those models of the Tacoma are not going to hold their value as well. So you're going to be better off getting more of a base model versus getting a fully loaded model. And so kind of the happy ground that I found was I found a fully loaded model 2016 that I purchased in 2017. So it had a few miles on it, had depreciated quite a bit, but I get all the options with it. So in doing my search and kind of evaluating different options that are available, what I did was kind of looked at newer ones all the way to older ones, looked at some of the updates that they've made over the years, and then kind of evaluating the price bracket compared to the mileage. And so what I found is if you were to buy a brand new 2017 double cab Tacoma TRD, and so to keep this comparable, I'm comparing a TRD model throughout the years. And so if you were to buy a brand new TRD base model, you're going to pay about $35,000 after dealer discounts. Go to a 2012 model. That was the next update to the Tacoma. Let's say that you've got 50,000 miles on that. You're going to pay about $28,000. That's a depreciation of about $7,000. Go back even a little further to the next kind of minor refresh of the Tacoma in 2009. Those were some very minor changes that year. Let's say that you've got 100,000 miles at that point. You're going to be looking at probably about $21,000. Again, that's about a $7,000 reduction in value or depreciation. If we go back to 2005, which was the first year of the third generation Tacoma, let's say that you've got 150,000 miles on it at that point. So I'm basically adding increments of 50,000 miles just to make it simple. You're going to be paying about $14,000 for one of those. That, again, is going to be about $7,000 in depreciation. Now, these numbers are somewhat general. It kind of depends on if you find a good deal or not, but these seem to be kind of the rough range of values that you're going to find on a Tacoma. depending on the mileage and the year. And so what I'm getting at here is that you're seeing a depreciation of about $7,000 per 50,000 miles and let's say 4 to 5 years of age. And so whether you buy a brand new Tacoma or you buy a used Tacoma, you're seeing this linear depreciation that's going to be about the same whether you go with a new or an old one. And so really the difference is going to be that upfront value. Whether or not you have the money to make that kind of an investment and purchase a brand new one or a nearly new Tacoma, or maybe you've got a smaller budget, you're going to get in further down that scale, but you're going to see that same depreciation. And so assuming that let's say that you have the money to make that initial investment, I'm going to go through a few more points on why it would make sense to do that if you have the financial means. So for simplicity's sake, let's compare a 2015 Tacoma to a 2016 Tacoma. This is the 2016 model, and with it you get a number of updates. So for starters, you've got a newer engine in this model that gets better gas mileage. If you go with a 2015 model, it's rated at 16 miles per gallon in the city, 20 miles per gallon on the highway. Over 100,000 miles at $3.50 per gallon, you're going to pay $19,500 for fuel. If you get the newer Tacoma, it's rated at 18 miles per gallon in the city, 23 miles per gallon on the highway. Over the same 100,000 miles at $3.50 a gallon, you're looking at $17,000 for fuel over 100,000 miles. So you're talking about a total savings of $2,500 over 100,000 miles between the older Tacoma and the newer Tacoma. Now, if we get back to the depreciation number, we're talking about equal linear depreciation over time. That doesn't factor in that fuel economy, and so you're actually in some ways going to be saving money on that 100,000 miles, because let's say that you're going to lose $14,000 in value over 100,000 miles, but you're going to lose that whether you buy a new one or an old one, and with the new one you're going to save $2,500 on fuel. Okay, the next item to consider is that on a new one you're going to have a warranty, and so you're going to be looking at lower maintenance costs, and you're just going to have fewer repairs in general once that warranty expires. I bought this Tacoma with a Toyota certified warranty, which gives me 7 years or 100,000 miles of protection. So for 100,000 miles or up to 100,000 miles, I'm not going to be paying for any issues with the powertrain. Now, Toyotas are obviously well known for their reliability, and so hopefully that's not going to be an issue whether you buy a new one or an old one. But if you've got a Tacoma with 100,000 miles and you drive it to 200,000 miles, chances are that you're going to be paying for some repairs and maintenance over that period, and they're probably going to be higher than what you're going to be paying with a Tacoma that's newer, that's within that first 100,000 miles of use. Now, obviously some of the other advantages to going with the new Tacoma compared to the old Tacoma is that you're getting a newer truck. So my previous Tacoma was a 2006. I sold it in 2016, and it still looked like a new truck because Toyota's made very few changes to that model over that 10-year period. They actually came out with the truck in 2005, and they didn't update until 2016, except for a few minor updates. They changed the grille, a few dashboard components, steering wheel, pretty minor things overall. Pretty much if you bought a 2005 Tacoma or you bought a 2015 Tacoma, you're pretty much getting the same truck. So one of the nice things buying the 2016 is that you could probably say the same thing, that Toyota's probably going to make very few changes over the course of the next 10 years. And so this truck is going to look and drive very similar to the newer Tacomas for many years. And so, it's nice having the newer style Tacoma and being able to keep it for a long time and have it continue to look good and look like a nice new truck. You're also getting some other advantages with the Tacoma. The newer Tacomas, you've got this touch screen with backup camera, navigation, number of other nice features. I've got another video on my channel that goes through just kind of a general review of the 2016 Tacoma. I'd encourage you to look at that and see some of the advantages or upgrades that they've made with this Tacoma. You're obviously getting updated exterior styling, and you know, it looks like a nice newer truck. If you go with a 2015, you're buying a truck that again is basically a 10-year-old truck, and so that's a nice advantage to going with the new one. Now, if you were to look back in time, you could have had the same debate choosing whether to buy a 2004 Tacoma or a 2005 Tacoma when they first came out. Fast forward 10 years to right now, if you're looking back at a 2004 Tacoma compared to a 2005 Tacoma, the 2005 Tacomas have maintained their value a lot better, and they just are a nicer, more modern truck. Not to say that there's anything wrong with the 2004s, those are obviously a classic, but I think that you're going to find that most people having their choice between a 2004 or 2005 are going to have no issue choosing the 2005 over the 2004. So if you compare a 2015 to a 2016, you're not looking at a real significant price difference between the two, and yet the 2016 you're getting all of these new features, improved fuel economy, it's a newer truck, it's going to be a lot nicer truck relative to the 2015 down the road. So in summary, what I really found comparing older Tacomas with newer Tacomas is that whether you buy a new one or an old one, you're going to get relatively the same depreciation over time. But if you buy a new Tacoma, you're going to get better fuel economy. You're going to have a newer truck that's going to maintain its appearance and value better long term. You're getting all the additional options and features of the newer generation Tacoma, and you're really not paying anything long term for that other than the initial upfront investment. So you could buy a 2016 Tacoma, hold it for 10 years, or you could buy a 2006 Tacoma, keep it for 10 years, and you're probably going to see pretty relative depreciation between the two vehicles. But with the new Tacoma, you're going to get to drive the newer Tacoma for 10 years, older one, you're going to be driving an old Tacoma for 10 years. So ultimately what I concluded when searching for a replacement Tacoma is that you're not going to lose any more money purchasing a new Tacoma than you are with an old one. You're going to have to make a larger upfront investment, but in either case, you're going to see pretty equal depreciation over time. And what really sold me on a new Tacoma was that you're getting a new vehicle with updated styling, new features, better fuel economy, all for relatively the same price over time. And so really sold me on buying a new Tacoma. I think that makes the most sense if you're in a position to purchase a new Tacoma. If you've got any feedback or questions, leave them in the comments below and we can discuss.